Yo, what's good guys, Ben Fire here back from the video, and today we're going to be hopping into my Madden 24 stick work tutorial. You guys always enjoy this video, and it always does well throughout the year, so I'm going to bring you guys my favorite moves to execute in this year's game, and overall just how to be clean on the sticks, how to make people miss in the open field. We'll talk about juking out computer players versus clicked on players, because it definitely does change, it definitely does play a role. Whether someone is clicked on or clicked off, you cannot do certain moves. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel down below, turn on those post notifications to never miss an upload. But yeah, so we're using Saquon Barkley here. Abilities wise, some things will certainly help. Those things like jukebox, energizer, evasive, those things to get you faster juke moves will certainly help. We're using Saquon here, and overall you don't need them, but they will help. Obviously high elusiveness, high some of those other ratings, high acceleration, they will all help for sure. So we're going to talk about the first move, which is going to be the stop and go. Now, how do you stop and go? It's a pretty simple. Now, it's not as good as it was, but pretty much you're just going to kind of do this. Now, you notice how if you kind of stop, your player will slow down a little bit, but it can be enough to make someone miss. And overall, it can be enough to allow you to make, change directions and avoid that player. So you can kind of switch directions. It's not as good. Obviously, depending on the player, Barkley's not necessarily the most elusive guy. He's pretty elusive, but typically this move will be better if you just go forward. So you almost want to kind of stop. Or if you plan on like switching angles, you want to kind of be, let's say you're running down the sideline, you kind of want to switch to the right. You're going to go here first, and then you can kind of cut over a little bit better. But how do you do this move? We'll talk about it. So pretty much all you're going to do is be holding the right trigger, obviously with your left stick going forward. And then you're going to pretty much just simply let go of them at the same time. So we're just going to let go, and then we're going to press on the right trigger again. And again, make sure you let go of the right trigger, because it's going to be a little bit more smooth versus if I'm holding the right trigger all the way around, it's not as smooth. If we let go of everything, then we can kind of, you see how we're able to stop and go just a little bit faster. It definitely makes a difference. So make sure that you let go of the right trigger, and you basically just take the hands off the controller. So again, just letting go. You can see how these would be enough to move. If someone's sprinting full speed, you can kind of do some of these. And again, you see you're able to really switch directions, but you have to start going at the angle first before you stop, because if you try and stop and then go at the angle, it's going to look something like this. We're going straight, I'm going to cut right. Then you see it's not that clean, smooth cut. It's going to be just not as clean. And overall, it's going to probably result in you being tackled. Now, it's not easy to make these people miss, but you definitely can. And this is really a good situation if they're like clicked onto a safety. It's one-on-one in the open field. And they're kind of running backwards to try and like strafe up, tackle you. This is a good situation to do that, because you can often catch them. Like if you're running here, they're running kind of backwards, they cut to the right, you can kind of stop, make them miss a bit. And this is just a good move to avoid that. So again, don't abuse it. Don't use it when it's not necessary. If it's just a simple one-on-one, you're kind of running towards the sidelines. Let's say the guy is kind of chasing you. It doesn't make sense to like stop and go unless he's really clicked on. You can do some of those other moves that we'll talk about now. So our second move is going to be just the classic juke or double juke. Now, the classic juke is going to be very good this year. You can cut in, cut out. Now, I typically like to pair it like that. Now, it does drain a lot of stamina, but you kind of want to pair them together. Like do one, do the other. That's a good way to make them miss. So pretty simple way to do this. Now, I believe that the juke move without holding the right trigger is going to be a little bit better this year, and I think I would be correct about that. It's a little shorter hop, and it's just going to make people miss quicker, get you on your horse. So pretty much you're just going to flick your right. Let's say we're going to the right, we're going to flick our right stick to the right, and then the left. Just pretty simple. Make sure you don't do them at the exact same time, because that will result in a different move that we'll actually talk about later that I do not mind at all. But again, you're going to do it. Boom, do the other one. Do it, do the other one. Do it, do the other one. So again, there's like a half a second split in there, but this is a good move to make people miss, especially if you're like cutting through the hole. there's a defender kind of chasing at you, the safety is more towards the middle of the field, so you don't want to cut it in. So you're going to kind of cut it in, make that first guy miss, and then you can actually bounce it out. Now, it takes a lot of stamina, which is why having, I'm not sure, Energizer, I think, is going to help, because if you make one guy miss with this juke, you're going to be back at full energy. I'm not sure that it happens within that play, but it'll definitely be at full energy for the next one. But this is going to be overall just one of the better moves that you can do. Now, I would love to kind of be showing this with the defense, but it's just not possible because they would blow us up in the backfield. Things happen. But again, it's important that you're letting go of that right trigger when you try and execute them. If I'm holding the right trigger, it's just way slower. You see these moves, they're too slow. You'll get tackled. Someone else will be able to make a play. So you want the fastest juke possible, and that's just going to be without holding the right trigger. Now, I'm not sure how these animations switch depending on your rating. Obviously, Saquon is probably high. He is one of the better juke moves in the league. So that I cannot guarantee. But again, you want to do them back to back with like a little bit, half a second, as little as you can in between. And also, I urge you guys to try these out on your own, of course, because you won't really be able to understand it without doing it yourself. So I recommend watching along, doing it yourself. Try it out for 10 to 15 minutes. Try out these moves so that when you get in game, it's almost muscle memory. It's second nature. And obviously, you'll get better at deciding which moves you want to go with. A lot of it is improvisation, freestyling. But the moment that you get these down, you will start to have some particular moves that you enjoy going to, and you can really take advantage of. So our next move is going to be the jukes-hurdle. Now, how do we jukes-hurdle? Jukes-hurdle is going to be just holding the right trigger and flick Y in the opposite direction that you are running in. So, or rather the direction you want to go. You're not going to be able to jukes-hurdle forward. You can obviously only jukes-hurdle right and left. So when is this move good? Obviously, if you're running to the left, it does you no good to really cut to the left. You're going to typically want to do it to cut back. So if I'm running left at an angle, we can cut it right. If I'm running right, we can cut it back upfield for running left. Now, obviously, when it gets out of stamina, you can't do it at all, and it does take some stamina. So you see my limit is 3 or 4 that I did. But it's going to be really good to kind of cut it back upfield. Typically is what I use it for. So we can cut it back upfield here. It's good for interceptions. If there's a large group of people, it's a good way to make them miss. And also what you're doing is you're picking up a couple of extra yards when you're doing it. Now you can kind of combine it with jukes and things like that, but doing them back to back is not typically something that I'll attempt. Because when you do them back to back, it kind of looks like this, and they're just not really fluent. So typically you don't want to chain them together. You can juke and then cut it back. But again, you're using a lot of stamina. So what I'm not doing is I'm not going out there and I'm not spamming 5 moves together, because that's how you drain your stamina. If you end up breaking free, you're going to run out of energy before the goal line, and that's how you get tackled. But it's a quick cutback. Again, you're holding right trigger. You flick the left stick in the opposite direction at the same time you press that Y or triangle button if you're on PlayStation. And boom, very quick. Again, obviously statistics matter. Getting a good running back versus someone like Derrick Henry, who would probably not do this very well. Guys like Nick Chubb, those power running backs would not be effective. Obviously, your fullback would not be as good. I think they can still do it, but it's just not going to be as good. So overall, this is a good way to chain these moves together. And just another option to cut up field. Again, typically I'll do it if there's 2 guys next to me. One guy's kind of in the middle, one guy's coming from the left side. You can jukes-hurdle back to the right side, either A, make them miss, or it's going to allow you to go into a fullback animation. Let's say we make a guy miss, chain it like that. That could be a good move. Boom. But again, you can't hurdle when you're out of stamina or jukes-hurdle, so keep that in mind. But let's go ahead and talk about the last really move that I like. Now, as far as the other moves that you can do, we all kind of know what you can do. You can spin with B. It's not really that good. Spinning never really works because typically what happens when you're spinning is the computer players, they don't really fall into animation against spins too often. So it can be decent against a user, but the computers won't really be fooled by it anymore at this point in Madden. So some of the other moves that I like is going to be this chain juke move. Now, I like to use this on kick returns. There's just a ton of guys running at you. what you can do is this move. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with the traditional juke, and then we're going to flick the right stick immediately after, like that. Now, you have to be at stamina. It uses a lot of stamina to do this move because it's obviously two jukes chained right together. But you're going to be running here, and you basically do that. So you're going to, how to do this? You're going to flick your right, let's say we're doing it to the right side, which I will do on the next play. You're going to flick your right stick to the right without holding the right trigger, and then you're going to, right after, you're going to flick it to the right and press that right trigger. So this is one that'll probably need practice, but you do it like this, boom, you get that nice little cut. And this is a cut that you cannot get without chaining these together, but this can really allow you to almost flip the field. Especially if I'm like running backwards like this, boom, it can kind of allow you to cut like all the way back. Now again, it uses a ton of stamina. He's not going to do it as good once you're out of stamina. But once again, the way you do this is you flick it to the outside and then you flick it back immediately inside. Now again, could I do it from over here? You could. It's not really going to make sense unless you're doing it from the outside typically. When you're doing it from the inside and you're trying to cut out, it can work, but there's other better options. I would rather just do a regular juke move to the outside. But if it's a toss, there's nothing open, or we throw it to the flat with the tight end, that's a good way to make a defender in pursuit kind of miss. So there's someone after me, boom, make him miss, juke back to the outside, jurtle back to the right, stop and go. That's kind of a way to chain them all together. But overall, that's going to do it for the video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel down below, turn on those notifications to never miss an upload tomorrow or the day after. I will be dropping a quarterback run scheme. You guys always love those. So make sure you guys hit that like button for that. And peace. I'm out of here.